Hello, it's day 17 out of the 90 videos that I'm doing every day until I'm at the Dolby Theater. And I have someone here in our house who works with us who's amazing, and she was asking me a question that is similar to a question that I see a lot. And that question is, often when I change, whether it's through my health, I make my health better, I make my relationship better, I make my career, my income better, even my own spiritual connection better, there's a part of me that still wants to go back to what I was. There's a part of me that still wants to, go back to eating addictively or overspend my money or just be back in an old habit again. Why is that? And the first thing I want to do is recommend not asking why is that? Because who's trying to figure out why, and what's the most that you'll get is some kind of arbitrary answer from where that came from, but that's not necessarily tackling the issue. And the real thing to do is to just look at it and know that it's there and be okay with that it's there, because sometimes we need to identify why, and we get so caught in figuring out a reason, but really that's our ego that thinks when I find the reason this happens that I'll be happy. But your soul goes, that's nice, that's just what's unfolding, that wants to come out of you, that's trying to leave. Because when she asked me that question, she started tearing up. It was almost like she was bringing awareness to that habit just by acknowledging it, just by calling it out, just by saying that it's there, and not necessarily running from it, but just by asking me out loud, she actually put herself in a surrender and said, I've lost a bunch of weight. Why do I still want to eat the old way and go back to where I was? And that question actually, even though is more empowering than most of the questions we ask, it still is, why me? Why do I always do this? And that gives power to the habit. And what we want to do is give power to the truth of what you are, the soul of what you are. Instead of asking, why do I do this? Why don't we just love that? Because imagine the question being another kid at a park. One thing I love to do is say, imagine the thoughts that come up as another person's kid. If a kid came to you at a park and said, I lost a bunch of weight, but now I overeat, and you just looked at the kid and go, why do you always do this? The kid would feel judged and feel scared. But what if you just said, of course you do. There's habits that come up, and there's unconscious things that we do all the time. I love you, and it's okay that you do that sometimes. That kid would feel seen, and in seeing that kid, the kid would be able to be loved and feel that it's okay and released. And the second that kid feels loved, that kid as a byproduct might not need to eat or be addicted in an old hoarding way, because sometimes we're doing that because we're looking for the feeling of love, and sometimes we associate it to, I got love in this past thing. I felt connection when I used to eat, and I need to find connection, but because I don't feel connection to myself, I'm going to do this addiction. But if you can see that kid in you, the child you will suddenly feel seen. And when that kid feels seen, that child will not act out anymore. But your job is to see the kid not with the purpose of stopping it from doing that, because that's still conditional love. I'm doing this so you'll do this. And what we need to learn is to love ourselves unconditionally. We need to learn how to actually be there for it and make it okay sometimes, even if we make those mistakes. Make it okay that we're screwing up. And you don't make it okay so that you can totally do it and be a total addict. And you make it okay so that you can take this pressure off yourself, because it's creating a jail in your own mind. And that's when you act out and do something habitually, do something addictively. So even when you do something new and you create a new belief system in a new way, don't make that new way your God. Make that you're growing and your connection to you, what is your real truth, is you. And then you be a space for all these little yous that are going to show up. Because my fiance has a favorite movie called Revolver. And they say in the movie, the bigger the game, the bigger the opponent. And what that means is whenever you create a new habit, ego is going to try to outwit the new you and come up with a new dilemma, because it needs to be seen in that way too. Because as you get bigger and become a bigger space of love, your ego is going to create another bigger space of fear, obstacle, pressure, so that you'll actually have to be an even bigger space of love than that. If the ego stayed that small thing while you grew, you'd never grow any more past that. And we're here to always grow. We're here to go beyond every old part of ourselves, and always dilemmas are going to show up so that we can find a bigger space of love inside of ourselves to be there for all of those old things. And eventually, it'll all start to feel better and better, and you'll start to actually live this way versus doing it once or twice and then making the way you did it that one time your God. You're here to constantly do this and fail over and over and over again so you can finally get to the conclusion that you, in this moment, is the only real answer.